All right, we got one from China
The
Uncensored.
US has decimated the Iranian military, but can it do the same to China? Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. Right now, the US and China seem like they're barreling towards World War III. Big things are happening, and YouTube doesn't want me talking about it. What we expose on China Uncensored is too important to let it be crushed by big tech censorship. That's why I need your help to keep this show alive. Sign up directly to our website, free of YouTube control. That's ChinaUncensored.tv. To keep China Uncensored afloat, I need at least 3,000 subscribers there. We're already about halfway there, but halfway doesn't cut it. If you've been on the fence about my website, I urge you, please take action now. If everyone thinks, oh, someone else will do it, China Uncensored might not last the year. Again, that's ChinaUncensored.tv. I hope to see you there. And you'll see things there that you'll never see on YouTube. The link is below. Plus, stay tuned to the end of the episode where I'll give a special update. Now on with the show. So if you've been on social media monitoring the situation, you know that the U.S. Navy has been very, very busy making good work of Iran's naval vessels. And by good work, I mean it's been a one-sided massacre that puts Iran's Navy to shame. The U.S. has sunk dozens upon dozens of Iranian ships, including one of Iran's prized drone carriers and mine-laying ships. But not to worry, Iran, you've still got the friendship. At least you would if you didn't bomb everyone around you and threaten to cripple the world's economy. So, yeah, you ain't got ship. Iran thought it was prepared to take on the US after its humiliating defeat in the 1980s during Operation Praying Mantis. And many war games indicated that Iran could give the US a run for its money. But so far, the US hasn't even had to jog for its money. I wouldn't even call it a power walk. As it turns out, the US was much more prepared than Iran anticipated. Now, a lot of people from both the political left and right are saying that the US's strikes on Iran are completely unjustified. Pro-CCP bots especially love promoting these kinds of narratives. But the US has every reason to strike. As much as people like to preach about just war theory and self-defense, the fact is Iran has been at war with the US since 1979, and they weren't exactly quiet about it. Letting Iran prepare the groundwork to gain ever-increasing military power is not smart politics. And it's not just Iran's power that's at stake here. There's also, sing along if you know the words,
China, China, China.
China.
Iran was already rebuilding everything that the US and Israel destroyed last year. And they were also quickly rearming with China's help, of course. We've already seen Iran near a deal to buy supersonic anti-ship missiles from China. And even after the strikes, Iranian ships departed from a Chinese port with what many suspected to be precursors for rocket fuel. I've been saying this for a while now, but the US strikes on Iran is Trump's way of countering Iran's friend and the world's biggest threat, China. And it's a big blow to China. Not to mention it removes a distraction that allows the US to focus more on the Indo-Pacific. Done right, this can help prevent a much larger and far deadlier conflict from erupting over Taiwan. And there's more good news. The war with Iran is already teaching the US a lot of useful lessons that it can apply against China. For one, weapon range matters a lot. One of the reasons why Iran's getting crushed so easily is that it was prepared to fight the US at much closer ranges. It's a classic example of don't bring a knife to an intercontinental ballistic missile fight. The US didn't play by Iran's script. It fought with longer range weapons. Man, I've never seen so many missiles launched back to back like that. The conflict also showed the importance of having plenty of cheap drones and AI, as well as lasers. And most importantly, memes.
Here comes the heat from the USA. Pins down. What a strike.
Just like Sun Tzu envisioned. It turns out that even Chinese assets like the HQ-9B missile defense system haven't been enough to help defend against US strikes. But the US still can't afford to underestimate Iran. Despite seeing a lot of setbacks, Iran has managed to strike sensitive sites like radar that support US missile defenses. Which is why the White House X account needs to keep posting troll memes to break their morale. For America, for the lulz.
You want to see me do it again?
Iran has also been able to influence global behavior with the mere idea that it's laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. That could completely upend global oil shipping and gas prices. It's a real red flag, though in my experience, red flags are useful when it comes to sweeping mines. On top of all this, Iran's cheap, plentiful weaponry is putting a lot of strain on U.S. inventories. And all this raises a really important question. How would the U.S. fare in a war with China? China is far deadlier than Iran, with the world's largest navy and missiles galore. That should be raising alarm bells in Washington. Like Iran, China has also been laying the groundwork for war, but to a far greater extent. To see what I mean, check out my last, 11 years worth of episodes. On top of gaining massive influence in global supply chains, politics, infrastructure, and data, China has been building ships, missiles, and drones at breakneck speed to a scale that makes Iran's navy look like a bigger joke than it already is. Though China is also unable to build any friend ships. That's what happens when you alienate every neighbor and stab every ally in the back. There's no guarantee that the US will dominate on the seas if war with China breaks out. That's why, aside from everything I mentioned already, plus nukes, kind of important, the US needs to keep an eye out for China's undersea warfare capabilities. Earlier this month, US naval commanders testified and warned about how China's increasing its ability to strike the US. China currently has over 60 submarines, including 6 nuclear-powered attack submarines, at least 2 nuclear-powered guided missile submarines, 6 nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines, and more than 50 diesel-electric submarines. The U.S.'s biggest hope is that those 50-plus hybrid submarines are as reliable as the rest of China's EVs. Then they'd just be kamikaze units, and that's even more terrifying. Now, by comparison, the U.S. fields 71 submarines, including 53 fast attack submarines, 14 ballistic missile submarines, and 4 guided missile submarines. All of them are nuclear-powered, and ballistic submarines alone hold 54% of the U.S.'s nuclear weapons. But according to Rear Admiral Mike Brooks of the Office of Naval Intelligence and National Maritime Intelligence Integration Office, China has dramatically increased its domestic submarine production capacity through major infrastructure investments at 3 primary shipyards, accelerating production from less than 1 nuclear submarine per year to significantly higher rates. And I could make a quantity over quality joke here, but when you have that much quantity to throw around, there's only so much quality can do to counteract it. China's also quickly shifting from diesel-electric to nuclear construction for greater submarine endurance and stealth, and possibly other reasons I already mentioned. China's submarine force is projected to reach roughly 70 submarines by 2027 and up to 80 by 2035, with about half of them being nuclear-powered. And also a lot deadlier. I'm talking more munitions, higher speed, stronger hulls, greater strength, and longer reach and endurance compared to older models. Take, for example, the Type 096 nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, with its next-generation JL-4 submarine-launched ballistic missiles, which will be able to target large portions of the U.S. from protected waters. It's like sniping, but underwater. The Type 096, along with the slightly less advanced Type 095, is expected to enter service in the late 2020s through 2030s. Given how China talks a lot about being a near-Arctic power, and how China's pushing to master Arctic navigation capabilities, it's safe to say that we can expect these kinds of vessels to go on patrols beyond just the first island chain or even the Pacific Ocean. I'm talking they're going to be operating in America's backyard. As if China isn't already salty enough, they want to control all the oceans. We could see China patrol the Indian Ocean, the Arctic, and even the Atlantic by the 2030s or later. All the more reason why Trump's Golden Dome starts making more sense. And it's not just because it being gold is the most on-brand thing ever for him. Alongside submarine programs, China also is building what's called its Undersea Great Wall, China's attempt to create layered undersea surveillance networks to counter U.S. submarines. Because why just spy on its land dwellers when they can also oppress Atlantica? So yeah, compared to Iran, China has a lot more assets to hurt the U.S. And I haven't even touched on China's massive arsenal of surface combat ships, the PLA rocket force, China's gray zone warfare capabilities, hacking our ports or electric grid, or whatever sleeper cells might be able to do. Trump knows that the U.S. needs to revive its shipbuilding base if it hopes to deter China. That's why his administration has put a lot of emphasis on implementing a maritime action plan, which is badly needed. The U.S. has allowed decades of neglect to rot out its shipbuilding infrastructure, which means it's taking too long to get maintenance done for ships and submarines, let alone churning out new ships and submarines. For example, the Columbia-class nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, which was supposed to be delivered in 2027, next year, to replace the Ohio-class boats, is behind schedule. That's substandard sub-building. The first of its class, the District of Columbia, was only 65% complete as of February this year. It's expected to be delivered in 2029. Meanwhile, the second Columbia was only about 35% complete, and the third, 10%. But that's okay. I mean, it's not like we've known for years now that a 2027 Taiwan invasion is on China's vision board. No rush, fellas. The U.S. is planning on purchasing 12 by 2035, but who knows how long it'll take to actually have them delivered. At this rate, if the U.S. doesn't get its act together, by the time they're done, everyone in America could be speaking Mandarin. Meanwhile, the new class of ultra-advanced attack subs, called the SSNX program, is also getting delays. The U.S. isn't expecting to procure the first of them until the 2040s, not 2035 as originally planned. And again, who knows how long it will take to go from procurement to actual deployment. At this point, the U.S. Navy's best strategy is saying, "Hey, what's that behind you?" and then running away when they look. As for the Virginia-class nuclear-powered attack submarines, a January 2026 Congressional Research Service report said the actual Virginia-class production rate has never reached 2.0 boats per year, and since 2022 has been limited to about 1.1 to 1.2 boats per year, resulting in a growing backlog of boats procured but not yet built. Ironically, that's a boatload of unfinished boats. The Navy's hoping that it will actually produce 2 Virginia-class boats a year by 2028, but that depends on how well the U.S. fixes its industrial base. Good thing the U.S. hasn't shut down tons of factories and relied on China for building everything for them. That'd be super short-sighted. So yeah, the Trump administration needs to do something to fix the U.S.'s naval industrial base ASAP if the U.S. hopes to build as much as it needs to counter China. That's on top of all the ammunition, drones, support ships, and more that the U.S. will need to fight off China's massive military. There are some things the U.S. can do now to counter China's naval ambitions. Diplomatically, the U.S. could work to stop countries from making Chinese deep-sea mining deals and other agreements that empower China. In addition to countering Chinese cable cutting, and I don't mean switching to streaming, the U.S. could also improve upon its own surveillance capabilities, something that luckily it's already set to do, especially for its integrated undersea surveillance systems to support anti-submarine warfare. What do you know? The U.S. also has an undersea Great Wall of surveillance, too. As an American who's lived under the Patriot Act my entire adult life, it'll be refreshing to see the U.S. spy on enemies for a change. But what would be especially useful would be to make sure China doesn't steal sensitive technology. And more importantly, stop letting American universities do Pentagon-funded research that helps the Chinese military. It's like telling your bully, "Don't steal my lunch money, I'll just give it to you." The U.S. also desperately needs to revive its merchant marine force to help with maritime logistics, because what good is fighting wars if you can't get vital supplies from one place to another? Fighting China will be unlike anything the U.S. faced in the Middle East. Betting the future of the free world on the hope that China has Temu-quality military gear is a dangerous gamble. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. I probably shouldn't write these endings when I'm hungry.
Jenny, we need you to
All right,
build a
guys, go
spacecraft.
follow.
What's your plan?
It needs to be fast with blasters and